Hey everyone, what's up? So I just want to thank everyone for, giving us your time and taking a look at our videos. Appreciate it. If it's worth your guys' time, then that's all, that really matters at the end. But I am seeing from both sides of the spectrum. That's the Errol Spence fans and the Terrence Bud Crawford fans. The part that really whets our imagination and is very intriguing about this matchup is Spence's supposed inside game. And this topic has just been brought up frequently throughout my film study videos that I just re-uploaded on this channel. What I find funny about that is Spence isn't the traditional aggressive inside fighter. His fans want to believe that he's Terminator and he's highly durable, things like that. But even if we go back to the Ugas fight, you see not only did we find out his chin may not be what it's cracked out to be, but his body's pretty weak, kind of like Keith Thurman. Like him and Keith Thurman are kind of like on the same level. They both have those weak bodies as well. But again, going back to the inside fighting that everybody's talking about and the pressure and all that stuff, again, I don't think Spence is your traditional aggressive inside fighter. As I was telling another dude in the comment section, inside fighting has become a lost art. And the hurt business aspect of boxing, I think, is kind of dwindling as well. This is why you're seeing guys throw 700, 800, 900 punches. They're focusing more on volume, you know what I'm saying, than they are hurting their opponent, and they're trying to win and look good to the judges and showing that they're more busier than being more effective and landing impactful shots, you know what I'm saying? They're doing things that are more eye-catching and pleasing. And like I said, when you actually go over the film, Spence, he's not your traditional inside fighter. He's a passive, aggressive inside fighter. He's not a guy who exchanges with opponents. He's more so the guy that's going to show up, step back, and then reset. And that's even if you just throw punches at him. You don't even have to land on him. He typically does that. Another point I want to bring, and why I'm not so sold on Spence's inside fighting and it being a key factor in this fight, and why I believe this fight's just going to be anticlimactic in the end, is for this fact alone. We all sit here, especially you Errol Spence fans, you talk about how Crawford is light in the butt and he's small. Jeff Horn mentioned his size. Kell Brook told Terrence Crawford that he's small, this and that. You understand? There's only been two guys in this division that have been aggressive and have closed the distance and, try to be aggressive versus Terrence Crawford. Those two fighters being Jeff Horn and, of course, Avanesian. And you see what happens when you do that against Terrence Crawford. Now, these other guys, Kell Brook, again, was sitting here talking about his size. All these guys, these other guys that he's fought at the welterweight division, and mind you, he's still getting knockouts. He's still closing the show. You know what I'm saying? These other guys, they fought in negative fights, and they're just trying to rely on counterpunching and trying to set Crawford up for traps. Now, what you need to also understand about this point and aspect, you know what I'm saying? These guys aren't trying to use their size. They're not trying to bully him. They're not trying to use their size advantage, that type of thing. They're not walking Crawford down. But Crawford still is not only a leader in plus minus at the welterweight division last time I checked, but overall in the sport, I believe he's top 10 plus minus on punch stats. You understand? Overall, but Crawford is walking these bigger men down most of the time. He's walking down Kell Brook. He's walking down Igas Kalaskas. He's walking down Amir Khan. You understand? He's walking the majority of these dudes down as a smaller fighter and having to be the aggressor in a lot of these fights. Again, these other guys like to play possum. Kell Brook was playing possum. Khan playing possum. I'm trying to think who else. Sean Porter was not the same Sean Porter that faced Errol Spence. This is why it's very important that styles make fights. Now, what's detrimental in Spence's case is his most effective work, we all can agree, is when he gets on the inside, starts going to the body. But this has been a style that really plays into Crawford's strengths. Now, another aspect of this is Terrence Crawford, like a B-Hop or a Floyd Mayweather, he knows how to take away your best weapon away from you. And then you have to rely on other aspects of your game that you probably don't feel comfortable employing. You know what I'm saying? Errol Spence, you know, he does not have a back foot game. His mid-range to outside range, again, I don't think is that effective. He has to close the distance. He has to throw volume, guys. You know what I'm saying? And he has to get into that body. You know, he couldn't effectively use this, I guess, aggressive pressure style against a Mickey Garcia. Where was the knockout? Where was the real damage being done? You know, he said that he tried multiple times against Mickey Garcia to stop him, and he thought that the ref was going to stop the fight and things like that. But you saw he couldn't really get in there and open Mickey Garcia up, you know, and get him out of there, guys. And again, you landed 350 punches on dude. Another thing, you know, when I say that he's more of a passive-aggressive inside pressure fighter, you know, he doesn't like the exchange and things like that. When I think of a traditional inside fighter, I think of a guy like Julio Cesar Chavez or someone like that. Someone who's, you know, even when they're in the furnace or water or whatever you want to throw at this guy, you know, he's still being aggressive. He's still trying to overcome you, bully you, and things, tactics like that. Spence doesn't really imprint on me with those type of attributes. A lot of his fights seem to be fought in the middle of the ring. He does pin opponents to the ropes, but it's not that often. Again, how many times did you really pin Danny Garcia to the ropes? How many times did you really pin Ugas to the ropes? How many times did you really pin Shawn Porter to the ropes? You know, Shawn Porter especially, he was actually able to turn Errol Spence in those sequences, you know, for the majority of the night. You know what I'm saying? And this is what I'm saying. You're kind of a passive-aggressive inside fighter. You know what I'm saying? He's a guy, again, that likes to do the step back, reset, and start all over again. That coupled with the fact that, again, the majority of these welterweights, these bigger men, they don't fight Crawford aggressively. And I think there's a reason why they don't fight Crawford aggressively. You know, they're the ones trying to set up traps and make Crawford fall into the trap. So it's a very, to me, I see this as a big predicament for Errol Spence. If he's not able to get on the inside and land effective work, you know, he's pretty much a fish out of the barrel. He's a fish out of the water. He's on dry land, you understand? And we all know, you know, for the most part, Crawford more than likely is going to pick him apart in this fight. Again, Errol Spence, he's a guy, he doesn't like the exchange. I see him more as a unconscious puncher. He throws the same repetitious combinations and things like that, even when he has guys hurt, and he has a hard time finishing opponents. You can even see this in the Ugas fight. You know, even a dude who had a broken eye socket, you know, you still didn't stop him until, you know, the later, pretty much at fight's end in the 11th hour. You know what I'm saying? And that required a stoppage, you know, ref and everybody else to get involved. You could not do that on your own merit. You understand? You understand? So, I mean, man down has not been man down. Again, even when you knock down Shawn Porter, you only got his glove to touch the canvas. We talk about strength. We talk about bullying, roughing fighters up. I don't see Spence really do that. He does that with his volume in certain situations. I think when opponents are right there in front of him and allow him to do that. But again, when you actually punch back at him, he'll stop that stuff. You know, he'll even back up himself and let you up out of the corner or the ropes or, you know, whatever. So, again, I still see this as an anticlimactic fight. Styles do make fights, and I think this is a fight where Errol Spence's strength is a double-edged sword. It plays into Crawford's strength, which is counterpunching, landing punches that, you know, his opponents aren't necessarily aware of or fond of. You know, there's not, I think there's ways, I don't think you can prepare too good for an opponent like Terrence Crawford. Again, we see his style pretty much adapt to his opponent for the most part. He seems to be taking out guys in multiple ways, whether, you know, with Kell Brook, it was that anchor punch, sent him flying across the canvas and things. Shawn Porter is that uppercut, you know. And again, that right, you know, with that power behind it again, that's sending Sean Porter to canvas again. But he's been doing this in a plethora of ways, and I just don't think Spence is going to be ready for that type of stuff, man. Again, I don't think the inside fighting, the pressure is as big as a issue that you guys are trying to make it out to be. Especially given Spence's style, which is more so of a passive-aggressive pressure fighter who relies on a lot of non-impactful punch volume, you know what I'm saying? He does hurt opponents, especially, you know, when they're standing there right in front of him. But again, we've seen Sean Porter with his movement. He doesn't have the highest boxing acumen or the most educated feet. You know, Crawford, we know, does, even in southpaw position. I think he's a more educated mover than Spence. Moving target again. Couple that with the counter punching, you know what I'm saying? I don't think you're going to get Mr. 700, 800, 900 punch, Errol Spence. And again, his most effective work, his bread and butter is that inside work when opponents are kind of right there in front of him. He doesn't know how, like, for example, GGG, I'll give him credit for this. When he has opponents pinned on the rope, he knows how to land a punch that those opponents are not going to anticipate. If you go over his career, you're going to see a lot of times when he has guys pinned on the ropes, he's able to land sneaky punches that have an effect where he can end the fight or, get him real hurt and things like that. Spence, he does not have that ability where he can just see an opening on an opponent, maybe divert their attention and land something that they're not expecting, and we've seen his knockouts and everything else dwindle as he's been at this division. And I don't see why that trend should change anytime soon, to be quite honest with you. Ugas literally was a man who sat there and stood right in front of you. You know what I'm saying? Even Mickey Garcia, he was able to see what Errol Spence was doing the majority of the night. And this man, this is deciphering 1,000 punches that were thrown at him and supposedly 350 landed on him. And he seemed just fine by the end of the fight. Sean Porter, again, you sent his glove to the canvas. He seemed to be fine. He got right back up and, all was good, just like normal. In my opinion, Danny Garcia was able to last too, and quite frankly, in a Danny Garcia fight, he actually got to the point where he buckled you as well, hurt you towards the latter, half of the fight, you know what I'm saying? I just don't think a lot of what you guys, especially Spence fans, is holding up, especially when you go over the film, you actually look at what you're looking at. The inside fighting, like I said, against a guy like Crawford, it could be more so of a double-edged sword. Your greatest strength is simultaneously your greatest weakness. And let's say Crawford does take away the inside fighting. Where does that leave Spence? Like I said, you're going to be a fish, out of the barrel, fish out of water. You're going to be on dry land. And what are you going to do? Basically gas for air and flop around. But I don't think the inside fighting is that much of a factor as people think. Crawford, he's very smart. He's a guy, he's constantly changing levels, things like that, giving you different looks. Even with his shots, he's changing up the timing, the speed, things like that. He's a guy that you're not going to really be able to pinpoint, you know what I'm saying? You may time him a few times, but again, he adapts, we all know it, and he's going to give you different looks and things like that, and I've never seen an opponent just constantly time Crawford and, win more than 3 rounds against Terrence Crawford in a fight, guys. And I don't think that trend is going to change. I don't think it's going to be any different. I don't see anything in Errol Spence that's going to change my mind about that. Not worried about the jab, not worried about the outside fighting. Sean Porter, just a little bit of movement, athleticism, was able to take away that jab, and it became a slop fest. So I don't buy into the narratives that a lot of these fans parrot, and I don't know if Spence is the most durable guy that you guys say and think he is. Again, but that's all I got for now. I appreciate you guys, again, taking your time out of your day and watching these videos. It's been very positive for the most part, not that much trolling. And We appreciate you Spence fans and your Terrence Crawford fans gracing this channel. So we will talk to you later and come out with some more later.